Well, 7 years ago, who would have thought a maths teacher could become a celebrity with pop star-like popularity among, of all creatures, teenagers? If you'd suggested it as a story plot, the publisher would have laughed you out the door. But that's exactly what happened when Cherrybrook Technical High maths teacher Eddie Wu started videoing his classes and posting them on YouTube, or WooTube, as one of his students coined it. Eddie's first book is called Wu's Wonderful World of Maths, and he's taken time out of the classroom to tell us about it. Eddie, good morning.
Joe, thank you so much for having me.
I have enormous sympathy for whoever is replacing you in your class right now. The poor casual teacher stepping into your shoes.
Very fortunate to work with some great teachers at Cherrybrook Technology High School. I think they're doing swimmingly without me, but it's a real privilege to be here.
Eddie, this all began because you had a student who was sick. Tell us the story.
The perennial challenge of being a teacher and working in the muck and dirt of everyone's everyday lives and all their complexities is you often have students who, rather than having a completely unbroken experience of school, whether it's for overseas travel or family reasons, or in this case, illness, there are going to be large breaks in when they can be, in the classroom, learning in a coherent way. And a student of mine, he was only 15 years old. He was actually diagnosed very suddenly with pancreatic cancer. And sort of the standard procedure that teachers are supposed to adopt is, said student is going to be away, and we need to make sure they can try and catch up and, stay up to date with the rest of the class. Send home whatever textbook work you're expecting the class to cover during that time, and then hopefully when they return, they'll be able to pick up where they left off. That's kind of what we're supposed to do. But despite the fact that I'm a mathematics teacher now, I knew that when I was at school, if someone had handed me a textbook and said, read this by yourself for 5 weeks and just try and make do, I knew that would have been completely insufficient, completely inadequate. I think most of us need someone personally to walk us through this very challenging and often abstract subject. And so I thought, maybe I can do better than just handing this kid a textbook. And so that's why I got my phone. And it was, one of those really, older, early generation where they could just start taking video that didn't look like a potato. And I thought, okay, I'll put this up online. YouTube just seemed like the most natural way to do it because it would be easy for them to access. And from there, just that one boy, it kind of spread way beyond what I ever predicted.
What difference did it make to him?
This is actually really emotional for me to talk about because the privilege of teachers is that we get to take a tiny slice of ownership over where all of our students get to go and who they become. And this young man, he's in remission at the moment, which is wonderful in itself. But even more than that, he actually last year graduated from a computer science degree at university. And for anyone who knows anything about computer science, there's a lot of mathematics in computer science. And to be able to say, I got to hold that door ajar for him so that he could, not only get all that knowledge, but I think, through my own experience of family members who've had very serious illness and cancer, I think one of the wonderful things is to keep on walking through like a normal person and not have that disease dominate your identity. So it's just a huge privilege to have that impact.
Did you have a lot of technical learning to do by the time this started to ramp up and you realised how popular it was getting?
Yeah, look, it was kind of funny. I mean, there were a few moments throughout the last 7 years where I started to realise, oh, this is becoming a thing rather than just me in my classroom with my phone. I remember the first time I was just at the shops, just the local shops, and I think I was buying a couple of kilos of chicken wings from the butcher, and the boy who was serving me, the teenager who was serving me on the opposite side of the counter, he kind of took my order, and then as he was taking my cash to go and get change, he sort of gave me this funny look. And I'd never experienced this look before. I thought, was it something I said? Why are you looking at me in this strange way? He went away, came back with my change, and he said, Are you a mathematics teacher? And I said, yes. Are you one of my students who I've inadvertently forgotten? He said, oh, you're that one who puts videos online. And I said, oh my goodness, how did you know about that? And he said, oh, friend of a friend told me about this and I've been watching for the last few months. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is a real resource for people all around the country and now all around the world. There has been a bit of a learning curve in me taking on all this technology, but it's kind of been nice and gentle, and it's all about just making it a better quality product for people to help them learn.
You seem to have a great deal of fun with your classes. There seems to be a lot of laughter that goes on amid the maths. And obviously you have a great personality for teaching. I guess there's the curriculum to get through. Not everybody has the same personality. Have you ever been asked to coach teachers? And are there, tips that you could give to any teachers listening on their way to work?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate that within the New South Wales Department of Education, one of the things I do get to do is run workshops and professional learning for teachers. And it's a real privilege, actually. Just recently, I was at Southern Cross Distance Ed and Mullumbimby High School, and it was a wonderful opportunity to help encourage and support the teachers there who are doing incredible work with a range of really, wonderful and deserving students. For me, when I think back to, when I was at university and as an early career teacher, there are so many things that go into making an effective educator. But I guess the most foundational thing is what you just kind of said, rapport and that connection to students. I think just like air is the medium for sound, relationship is the medium for learning. And if you don't have a personal connection to these students, then you're just lecturing at them, and you can't actually make the learning relevant to them. So for me, if I wanted to talk to teachers of the future or teachers now, it's that ability to know a student well, and then where they are uniquely to connect all that curriculum and knowledge to them at their point of need. That's what makes the difference.
Let's get down to some numbers, because I know you've crunched them. How many face-to-face teaching hours have you effectively multiplied yourself by doing the YouTube?
Oh boy. Okay, this is actually really tricky to answer. Not because I haven't crunched the numbers, because I have, but because the numbers are constantly changing. So I'm just going to do this off the top of my head. There's about, last I checked, about 600,000 people from all around the world who they've clicked on that button to say, not just I've watched a video, but I would like to continue watching these videos whenever they come out. So these are subscribers. And, I'm, as a high school teacher, an average high school teacher is about 5 classes every year. 5 classes, that's 150 students. So if you take those 600,000 people who are kind of watching along, and if you say, well, how many years of teaching would it take me at 150 students per year to get up to 600,000? And the answer is, it would take me about 4,000 years of teaching to get to that point. And I mean, I hope to have a long career in teaching, but I don't think it'll be quite that long. So I guess that's the joy for me technology is wonderful in that it enables so many different things. I'm not about the technology, I'm about what the technology allows me to do and how it allows me to connect to students and parents and people all around the world.
Eddie Wu is with me, mathematician, YouTuber, and now author as well. Eddie, did you have fun working out what you were going to put in the book?
Oh wow, this is such a joy. When Pam McMillan first approached me, this is more than a couple of years ago now, I remember thinking to myself, do I have a book in me? I don't know. I mean, I'm flattered that you would come and ask me whether I'd like to do this. But when I started to think about what I would put into this, I realized I already had the perfect material. I'm a mathematics teacher. I've been teaching this is my 13th year of teaching. And the question that every mathematics teacher gets asked dozens of times every year, and I'm pretty confident that the majority of people in this room have asked this question at least once in their life, if not several times, is, sir, when am I ever going to use this in my life? What's the point in me having to learn all of these formulas and algebra and trigonometry and all the rest? And the fact that people are laughing along with me shows this is something that resonates with people. I've had to answer this question hundreds and thousands of times over my entire career. And the book, every chapter in the book, is one of my answers to that question. Here is where mathematics and patterns and connections are found in nature, in the built world, the way that humanity has sought to understand and create an environment in which we can live and flourish has been governed and sort of undergirded by mathematics at every step.
So what's some of the coolest phenomena you've come across that you can explain using maths?
Okay, so, we're in a beautiful spot at the moment. I'm just looking out the window at the gorgeous weather. I'm sorry, by the way, I have to apologize. I think I brought Sydney's rain with me, so everything apparently was fine until we all arrived this week. I'm looking out
just at the sky beyond. And recently, actually yesterday, I saw a rainbow. I don't know if anyone else spotted a rainbow yesterday because, there was the rain in the morning and then there was this beautiful sunshine afterwards. And I don't know if anyone has recently thought about the fact that rainbows, rainbows are round, aren't they? That's why we call them rainbows, shaped like that. And I don't know if anyone has ever contemplated why it is that a rainbow is, it is in fact a perfect semicircle. That's the shape that you see every time. I remember the first time that my daughter, she's 11 years old now, she asked me this years and years ago, and children have this wonderful way of being endlessly curious and asking you question after question after question until you feel like I know nothing about the universe. I don't know the answers to your questions anymore. And my daughter asked me, why are rainbows round, Daddy? And I thought to myself, actually, you know what? I don't know the answer to that question. And there's this perfectly mathematical object, a semicircle, that surely that's not a coincidence. So I went and did my research. And what I discovered was, and some of you may already know this, rainbows, in fact, are not semicircles. They only look like semicircles because they're cut off by the horizon in the distance. If you've ever been up on top of a mountain or in a plane and a rainbow has appeared, you'll see it's not a semicircle at all. It's a full, round circle. And it's very few times you'll ever get to see something like that. And the reason why it is this beautiful, perfect shape is a wonderful piece of circle geometry that has to do with every little individual raindrop. There's millions of them that form a single rainbow. They all act like teeny little mirrors that reflect back a different part of the light spectrum and give us this wonderful, beautiful display that if you were trying to explain it to someone, they wouldn't believe you that such a thing could exist, except there it is, hovering in the sky for us to see.
Terrific. So how did you learn to be such a good communicator? Was it something that always came naturally to you?
I'm smiling when you ask that question because if you rewind the clock and if you go back to, if you'd ask my parents, is 7-year-old Eddie, they would have said 7-year-old Edward back then. No one calls me by my full name except for my parents or people who think I'm in trouble. Is 7-year-old Edward ever going to grow up to be a communicator? And they would have laughed in your face because I was very timid, very shy. In fact, that's part of the reason why I ended up when I was at school doing 4 years of drama, year 9, 10, 11, and 12. I did it for my HSC. I was not particularly good at it. I had friends who went to become stage actors and went to working in theatre. But from there, I learned all these wonderful skills, which seemed like they were just for fun. And I did enjoy it, to be fair, even though I wasn't very good at it. But then I realized that as a teacher, what you then have to become is you have to adopt a persona. I'm a sort of classic introvert. I don't know, when they do personality tests, you're like, are you an extrovert? Are you an introvert? I'm always about a 90 to 95% introvert on a test. And for a teacher, that's a really dangerous thing to be because you are forming relationships all day, every day. And in fact, your ability to teach effectively is founded in your ability to connect with people and therefore communicate well with them. But it is a skill that I've learned and I've adopted, and every day that I get to be in the classroom and interact with these young people, it's the privilege of knowing that I'll be able to, without exaggerating, change the trajectory of their lives. That for me is an enormous privilege that makes me want to put in that effort. And it may mean that at the end of the day, when the 3 p.m. bell goes, I have to somewhat curl up in a ball and put my headphones on and curl up with a book and let my introvert brain recover. But it's absolutely worth it for the impact that you get to make on young people and the next generation.
Eddie, what's the best way for parents to engage kids in school, especially if they're not naturally inclined, if they're not academic, if they struggle, if they just don't want to be there? What's the best way for parents to get them to love learning?
For me, the love of learning is something that starts right from day dot. One of the things that as a high school teacher I encounter all the time is children are generally 12 to 13 years old when I first meet them. I love working with primary school children, and my kids are primary school aged. But for the majority of your average year 7 kid, they have made up their mind about so much in terms of their, am I someone who's good at this subject? Am I a mathematician? Am I a reader? What kind of a person am I? And there are so many unconscious, subconscious messages that we send to our young people that really do inform the way they then regard us in the classroom. As a mathematics teacher, students walk into my room and they've decided before they've even met me whether they are going to like me or not, because I am the mathematics teacher. I stand for a subject that they love or a subject that has been traumatic to them for years of their lives. So I guess what I want to say to parents is, recognize that you have this outsized influence in everything that you say, your posture, even little things like, I've got many parents whom I've met, and they say to me, well, I know that my child isn't particularly gifted in mathematics, and I've said to them, look, no problem, there's lots of other things that you can do in your life. I totally understand the impulse to reassure a child in that way. But I just want to do a little thought experiment with you. We're Australian. We love sport. That's just one of our national cherished pastimes. When a child is not very good at sport, we don't usually tend to respond, okay, well, don't worry about that. You'll have something else that you can do in life. We would say, you're Australian. Get out there and kick a ball. Just this is part of our identity. And we recognize that as a practical pursuit, you have to do this. You have to engage with it before you necessarily have any natural talent if you're going to get involved and actually enjoy and appreciate this. Mathematics is just as practical as sport, as music. It's something we have to engage in and do ourselves. So I want to say to every parent, don't give your child permission to just simply disengage from that. Give them the gift of saying, no, you know what? I actually think you can. I think you have the capacity to do this. I think you can read. I think you can play a musical instrument. I think you can master these tricky equations. I believe in you, and I think it's worth persevering. I think that would be a wonderful message for every parent out there to take on.
Well, we can now not only catch you on YouTube, we can pick up a paperback copy of your book. Eddie Wu, thank you so much for joining us today.
Joe, it's my pleasure. Thanks, everyone.